Welcome back to Expert Insights. I'm still talking to Mr. Francis Kong, the motivational speaker of the Philippines, and we are on the subject matter of inspiring excellence, which also happens to be the tagline of his business. So let's find out from him, what does it mean to inspire excellence? But before we say inspiration, let's talk about what is excellence, Francis. What is excellence?
In my seminars, I would ask my participants that question. And the typical answers I would be getting would be being the best that you can be or doing your best. And my response is, what if your best is not enough? And so for me, a very good and practical definition for the word excellence is delivering beyond what is required.
From the perspective of the customer, from the perspective of the market.
From anything.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if your kid is required 75% to pass the grade and he delivers 75 or 78%, he's not excellent. He merely complied.
Right.
But if he delivered beyond what is required, like 98, 99, he did not comply. He committed.
Yeah.
Now, that brings you to an entirely different level.
Right. So, excellence is that. And then what would be, I'm pushing you a bit around here, no? What would be significance then?
Significance is finding meaning in what you do, and not only that, because that's very self-focused, the outcome of which is making a difference in other people's life, positive difference.
So excellence could be in a product, a profession, or service, or something that's measurable, but significance would be involving some spiritual satisfaction?
Not only spiritual, but for example, I produce a product wherein you expect it to deliver it this way. The moment you use it, this expression comes out of your mouth, say, wow, look at this. This can even do something more than what I expected. So it produces positive feelings in me because I find advantage in using the product. Now that's excellent for you. Right.
Now you claim that you are in the profession of inspiring excellence. No, inspiration vis-a-vis motivation. Any difference?
I was really hoping that you would ask me that
Thank
question.
You.
Thank you.
I hope I ask you all the questions that you want me to ask you.
We never even practiced this, right? Now, the whole country now seems to be calling me Francis Kong, the country's most sought after motivational speaker, but just between us.
Yeah.
And maybe among all of us. I don't like the word motivation. Because if you take a look at the word motivation, it seems to be a compound word, maybe, not exact science, but it seems to contain the word motive and maybe close enough to the word action. Now, Raju, I don't know what your motives are, and I certainly cannot take your actions in your behalf.
Right.
Therefore, it is my firm belief that nobody can motivate anyone except the self.
Right. Yeah.
And so people who think I can motivate you seem to be wanting to prey on your skin-deep emotions. So everything now,
depth?
Yeah. So everything now is just emotions, everything is just a feeling. I mean, I've been to all these motivational talks and they just fire you up with loud music, make you feel good. But the moment you leave the door, you go back to your old self.
Right.
But you and I, rather than thinking of motivating people, we might want to think of inspiring people to become self-motivated.
Okay.
Yeah. That way it's more long-lasting. That way it's introspective. That way it makes the person reflect upon himself rather than being manipulated by trainers or teachers. Like
by external forces. So since you claim to inspire excellence, what are the steps involved? What are the steps? So if you were to inspire me, if I was, say, low on drive, low on motivation, what would your steps be? What would be the action steps, step by step? How would you go about it? Since you claim it has to be coming from within me, but how would you catalyze it would be the right question.
This has to be done very, very delicately. And a diagnosis, a prescription, I mean, without diagnosis is malpractice. So you got to first understand where the person is coming from.
Right.
Maybe the person doesn't have drive because he has been driven too hard by people above him that he felt he has just given up.
Right.
Maybe the environment, maybe the educational background, maybe the culture. So you take all of those things in consideration. Now, the first thing is to make the person realize that there is an existing challenge. Not
is
really
to make
a problem.
him realize it. Make him to understand
that
he has been challenged. Okay.
And secondly, to make him see that there are other people who may be in dire circumstances compared to him who have gone out of that situation and have excelled.
Right.
And number 3 is to make the person understand that there is hope. There is no such thing as people beyond hope.
Right.
And then you present principles.
Right.
Now, the principles have to be created in such a way that it becomes so practical and so commonsensical, yet not defying the laws of logic for the person to realize and understand.
Right.
And then you challenge them. And then you say, now that you've known the steps, what are you going to do?
Right.
Now, a very good facilitator would do some follow-through programs. But since I'm saddled with a lot of schedule, I would request people close to those people who would do the follow-through. And that's what I've been doing all these years.
So let me get this right. No? Number 1 is first you make them realize what their challenges have been in the past, and maybe make them realize that it wasn't so bad, and it's not something that should burden you. That's 1. Then give them a role model, somebody else who said, somebody who said that.
Yes.
And then the third one is to tell them that there is hope.
Yes.
There are 3 main steps.
Yes.
See where you are, see what can be, and there is hope.
That's
and then
nice.
Provide them principles step by step, and provide a follow-through coaching. We call it coaching, but it could be anything that could nurture them forward.
Right, and that's so nice the way you put it.
Yeah.
Now, in the first step, this is very, very crucial, because the first step is not just to tell them that things are not that bad.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, what I do during the first step is to present to them a world picture of what's going on and the challenges we will be facing. That is not just not too bad, it's going to get worse.
All right, so also give them a realistic picture of what might come through. Not just hope, but hope that is soaked in reality.
Exactly. A very good example for that is you have somebody who doesn't have to drive, somebody whose only drive is to look forward to the 15th and the 30th of the month where the paycheck is there.
Yeah.
Now, my job now is to tell them, your paycheck, your past experiences are no guarantee that you can remain on your job.
Yeah.
And while the whole world is changing, are you changing with the world? Are you growing? Are you being adaptable? Are you being relevant to the changing times? Or else you're going to find yourself in the front line of people who are going to be let go.
Right.
That's the first step. Make them realize that too. Yeah.
So, Francis, you, again, now you're an inspirational speaker, and you also do hands-on training in workshops, etc. No? And you probably have, I'm sure you have a team that supports you. How much I don't know if it can be measured in the big picture, but how much do you feel you have done over the last 10, 12 years? And if there is there's a real example you can cite of an individual or an organization that you have helped, can you give us a picture?
People have always asked me this question, Francis. I mean, your services are not cheap. We invest a lot of money in training, and then right after you've spoken, we see a visible change right away, and then maybe after 2 months, 3 months, they go back to business as usual.
Yeah.
That is simply because there's a big difference between an event and a process. When I come in and I teach, that's an event. The process now has to come from that person himself with the help and support of maybe HR or the company that will help push and follow through every single step of the way. And that's just the way it is. Another thing I have discovered in life is, something as simple as, some trainers come to me and say, Francis, I mean, have you, it's so frustrating. You train and you teach and you educate, and then the person doesn't seem to change.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience, Raju?
I've had no complaints, thankfully, so far, no? But I have had concerns in the sense that maybe perhaps I didn't do a good job, but I've had no complaints.
Well, that's exactly what I want to say. You don't have to feel bad or guilty about not doing your job, because trainers and educators like you and I, we can only teach.
We can only do so much.
We cannot make people learn.
Right.
And that's why we have a very popular saying that says, the moment the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Right.
So that wanting to change still has to ultimately be the personal decision of the person.
It has to be the fire inside.
Exactly.
Francis, you said that person from where he is, then a role model is important, no? Somebody that you look up to, call him a mentor, a teacher, a coach, a brother, a father, whatever. So in your life, was there someone like that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's lots of them.
Can you share a story on that?
Current one would be the senior pastor of Christ Commission Fellowship, where I go to.
This is in Green Hills.
This is in St. Francis Square, and we're preparing ourselves to move to a huge, large edifice found in Tendecitas. When I look at the way he has lived his life, the way he has raised up his family.
What's his name?
Peter Tanchi.
Chinese?
He's Chinese, married to an American, lovely lady. Tanchi, Tanchi.
Oh, just one word.
Yes,
Tanchi, okay.
yes. And the way he has raised up his family, all winners, by the way. The kids either played captain ball for the Ateneo team and ended up cum laude. The daughter now was a high scorer with the Ateneo Blue Eaglets, and then she graduated summa cum laude. And all of the kids, you take a look at the fruit of his leadership. You understand that this guy certainly knows what he's doing. So he serves as a very present-day role model. Now, a lot of my role models are staying with me in my library.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anybody else besides Tanchi? In the past, I mean.
Yeah, in the past there are business people too. One of them is he was very young guy then. He's still young compared to me.
Yeah.
When I saw Butch Jimenez, what he stands for, his level of integrity.
PLDT, yeah.
PLDT, and the way he leads his people now, he's just one of those magnificent champions and winners I see who have made a positive influence in me. And then the thing is, we learn from people. They learn from us, we learn from them. So it's a composite of different
so many
people.
things.
Yeah.
This is a question I did not plan to ask you, and it just came up because you mentioned Tanchi and his American wife and how his kids have become so successful in life. Now, what part of somebody's success in life, what part of somebody's, say, excellence in life, in performance in life, is circumstantial, environmental, and what part is genetics? Is it possible that if you mix Chinese genetics with American genetics, that can create a different product? Is that possible? Or does a father's intelligence, the father's genes or the mother's genes have an influence on the child? How much do they have?
Well, I think putting too much value on genetics or genes is just not my cup of tea, because the only genes I deal with are those that I have manufactured in my past.
Right.
That's
Okay. Yeah.
But I would say that the quality of the modeling of the parents in the home is so significant.
Right.
I mean, as a father, I've always believed in this, that my people in the workplace and my children, they all behave the same way. They may certainly not believe 100% I say, but they certainly believe 100% they see me do. Last night, I forced myself to stay awake until about 1:30 to 2 o'clock, just giving support to my son who was playing the drums in an album launching that they had. You know, these are things that I need to do. If I want my children to grow up as winners, I got to be right there modeling and letting them see that this is the way a father has to be. Same principle for people in business. Culture has a say, but not too much.
Culture, not genetics, you mean?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No. Culture has a say. Like, for example, when you grow up in a Chinese family, the typical learning you will get from the parents is, when you grow up, son, don't be an employee, be an employer.
That's the Chinese culture, yeah.
Maybe for certain other cultures it's different, but it has a little bit to fashion and mold the future of the person. But everything else is acquired. What you see, what you learn, and then your choice whether you want to be a winner or you just want to follow the mass ocean of humanity who prefers to be complacent. That is a serious choice that one has to make.
Right. So, great. I accept you. I mean, that's your answer. Yeah. And I just realized that the question that I just asked you came from a statement that I used to make about nature and nurture. So you are saying it's not so much about the nature, the original genetics, but so much more about nature.
True.
So nature has very little part to play in what a person becomes in terms.
As a matter of fact, borrowing a famous line from Zig Ziglar.
Who?
Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do much about your ancestry, but there's a lot you can do with your legacy.
Wow, wow. All right. Okay, Francis, now you are an amazing speaker up there on stage. You know, I mean, I've seen you a couple of times, and people talk about you, and you are fun and magical out there, no? Where, besides the church, you know, where do you get your training from? What is your recipe for excellence up there on stage?
Now, that's going to be a very difficult question
you
to
have
answer.
3 minutes, man.
3 minutes, oh my goodness. I never had a recipe.
Okay.
But every time I was listening to a pastor, listening to a speaker or a teacher, I've always wanted to find out what is it about this person that engages me, and what is it with this person that makes me feel like I want to leave the room the soonest possible time.
So two extremes. One is what makes you stay. One makes you run away.
Yes.
Okay.
And here are the following things I have discovered. Number one, humor is extremely powerful.
All right, fine.
That keeps me awake. Number two, the Jesus system.
The Jesus. Jesus step?
The Jesus system. Jesus told stories.
Kwentohan.
That's why the parables are timeless. 2,000 years after, we still use the same thing. We still understand.
More than 2,000, I think.
More than 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And the third thing I find is the messenger should be very important to understand this. The message may be right.
Yeah.
But the messenger should be righteous.
Right. So that's you.
In other words, you don't practice what you preach. You should be preaching what you are already practicing. That way, there is no gap.
Right.
People will never say, that's a script.
Oh, okay.
People will never say, well, it's just saying that to make us feel good.
Right.
But people are going to say, this guy is who he is. He is authentic, or authenticity is very important.
Wow. Fantastic. Let me summarize.
Right.
So to be magical on stage, or to be phenomenal on stage is number one. Maybe it's not in that order for you: humor, storytelling, and then your personal self,
right.
Your personal authentic self.
Right.
So three things. So if I just have humor and story, and I'm not it, I'm not the message, I do not perform the message or live the message, then I won't sell. What if I have a message and I don't have humor and story?
Well, you may appeal to certain groups of people who don't have humor too.
Yeah.
There's a group of people who are very analytical and very, left brain.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But in general, especially talking to the Filipino audience, they love humor. They love to laugh. They love stories. And,
all right, Francis. Thank you very much.
You're
humor, storytelling, and yourself is the most important one.